Welcome back, y'all, to the Nourishing Women podcast, your go-to podcast to get your period back and get pregnant. I'm your host, Victoria Myers, peer recovery specialist, fertility dietitian, and owner of the virtual coaching practice, Nourishing Minds Nutrition, soon to be Nourish Fertility, where we work together to restore your fertility. Now, today's episode is one I'm excited to share with you because as I go through past episodes and what you guys really resonate with, you seem to really enjoy personal content, and I get that completely. My favorite podcast hosts, always my favorite episodes of theirs are the ones where they're sharing a bit more about their personal lives, how they live their lives. And today's episode is really with that in mind. And it's intentionally in fertility too. And I'll explain why at the end of this episode. But really what I want to do is walk you through my morning and nighttime routine so that you can copy them to boost your fertility too. So let's just jump straight in. And again, at the end of the episode, we will discuss why morning and nighttime routines are really imperative to consider for many of the ways that you can boost your fertility beyond just fertility medication like letrozole or IVF, or even just thinking if I have a missing period, the only thing that matters is that I eat more. I want you to think beyond that because truly whole body care and thinking of your whole self, even beyond just your body, but your mind and spirit too, matters so much for fertility. And again, we'll discuss why in today's episode. So again, this is exactly my routine. I do this day in and day out, both morning and evening routines. Weekends are maybe just a smidge different, but really not that different because I'm a creature of habit, probably similar to you. I really like to do the same things consistently. So let's start with my morning routine. Number one, I get up around the same time every day, within an hour of each other. So what I mean by that is on the weekdays, my alarm is actually set for 5:22. 22 is like my lucky number. So I try to make everything 22 if I can. I wake up at 5:22 on the weekdays, and on the weekends it's around 6:30-ish, give or take. Now, I used to sleep in a lot on the weekends. In fact, Nick and I used to take turns. One of us would sleep in on Saturdays, the other would sleep in on Sundays, and we would wake up with the girls. Anna's 3. I really don't need to catch up on sleep the way maybe I once did when she was much younger. And what I have found to be true, and this happened ever since I had Jillian Greaves on the podcast to talk about circadian rhythm, what I found is when I actually am very intentional about waking up within an hour of my usual time, which is again around 5:30, I have so much more energy and I feel less fatigued throughout the day. And in fact, when I sleep in is actually when I'm more fatigued. So I've basically just stopped doing that on the weekends. What's happened is I have this cherished morning time now to myself, like almost an hour or two before everyone wakes up. So it's worth it, I promise. Getting back to waking up. So waking up around the same time really supports your circadian rhythm. You want your sleep schedules to be consistent. So that's why I started doing that. Immediately upon waking up, I'm putting on all the red lights in the house, no blue lights, except when my husband wakes up and fights me on it. But for the most part, it's just red lights on. And then I move into either coffee and or adrenal mocktail, usually both. Now, I'm not perfect, so I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I would highly recommend an adrenal mocktail and or food before coffee. I just can't get myself to do it. Again, I'm imperfect. I just cannot live without my coffee first. So I just make sure that my coffee has some fat and or sometimes protein, sometimes collagen in it too, and hopefully helping to blunt some of the caffeine's effect on cortisol production since it's the highest in the morning. We just want to be careful with our coffee intake. And again, I just add more to my coffee so that it helps to hopefully help lower cortisol as much as possible. Coffee and adrenal mocktail, I do want to say if you are in the midst of period recovery, it really is so important that you add food to this and that you are having something to eat really within 30 to 60 minutes of waking up. If you're like me, you know I'm 11 years post-period recovery. So at this point, I just make it the goal to eat within 1 to 2 hours of waking up. And that's what I would recommend for anyone who's moved beyond period recovery. Once you have a consistent ovulatory period, you can be a little bit more flexible with things like that. So far, we're waking up around the same time every day. Red lights are immediately on. Coffee and adrenal mocktail are in hand. And then I am reading 10 pages of personal development. Now, if you follow me on Instagram, I'm an avid reader. I share the books I'm reading all the time. I go through about 1 to 2 fictional books a week. Like, I really do love reading so much. Sometimes, actually most of the time, is fantasy books in the evening. And then sometimes historical fiction, thrillers, or sometimes in there mysteries. But for the most part, it's fantasy. However, what I really should share more of, and what I do every morning, is I actually read personal development in the morning. I don't read fiction because that would lead to me like reading for hours nonstop, and that's just just not a good way to approach the morning. So 10 pages of personal development is my goal. Since I do own a business, obviously a lot of my personal development is focused on entrepreneurship, mindset, things like that really help me to help you guys really by making sure I'm the best business owner I can be and show up in a way that allows me to reach my goals in business, because what that means is that I'm helping more people get their periods back and get pregnant. So I take that very seriously. Another thing I take seriously is journaling. Even more than reading, I am so consistent with journaling. I've done this every day of my life for a good 10 years now, and I truly can't live without it now. Like, I have to journal in the morning. It's just part of the rhythm of how I do life. It sets me up. I feel like it gets me in this really excited, optimistic mindset that I really like for it to carry through the day with me. I journal on a few different things. Sometimes it's like visioning my life, and I'll get very specific about the dream lake house that we want and the boat that we want and having a gym in our basement, all these like little specifics of the vision of our long-term future. Sometimes it's on the day ahead of me, envisioning how I want the day to go and how I want to approach maybe my mindset or how I want to approach moving into behavior, especially if I'm struggling with starting a new habit. For example, right now I'm really struggling with a transition into work mode. I will share what I do to help with that right now, but I can find myself wasting time that first 30 minutes of the workday, and I'm really trying to focus in on that and get better about that and start work more quickly. So again, I will journal on that and write out what it is I want to do day in and day out. And over time, it actually becomes a habit because I'm writing to myself basically that I want to do it. Another thing that I'll journal on is if I'm having anxieties, which obviously pop up all the time, both in business ownership, but in being the best period recovery specialist I can be, in fertility. I worry a lot about my clients. I want to make sure we're providing the best services possible. Or if it's parenting anxiety, that obviously comes up all the time. So if there's anything that I'm like really having a hard time processing through, I journal on that too. So again, it's either visualizing what I want for the future on the day ahead or anxieties I'm working through. And then from there, about 6:15 is when I get up. So I spend almost an entire hour doing that. Coffee, journal mocktail, reading 10 pages, journaling. And then from there, I'm prepping my family for the day ahead. Nick and I, my husband, we live in a very much of a divide and conquer household. And what I mean by that is whatever you're good at, whatever you excel at in the house is your task. So obviously, as a dietitian, my job with health and food, that's always me who does that. And he does so many other things in the house. He is an incredible husband and does everything basically other than those things that I do. He does all the laundry, and I could go on for days of all the things Nick does. But I'm saying all this because in the mornings, I really prep us up for success for the day ahead. I'm making both Nick and I mocktails. I'm getting him his supplements out, my supplements out for the day, the girls' supplements. I'm making everyone's breakfast. I'm then getting the girls ready. He takes the girls to school in the morning so that I can then go work out. In the morning, I used to take them myself, but then he actually takes the girls to school so I can go work out. But I'm getting them 100% dressed and ready, getting everyone again fed, getting hydrated, all the things. And then around again 6:30ish is when I'm eating personally my pre-workout snack. Right now I'm focused on getting more protein and carbohydrates in my diet, especially for pre and post-workout nutrition. So right now I'm doing Greek yogurt with fruit. So that's typically what my pre-workout snack is. And then it's around, give or take around an hour after I wake up. After everyone leaves, we all leave around the same time at 7:15. So this is about 2 hours in so far to my day. I then go work out. If you've heard me share on the podcast on Instagram, I go to Burn Boot Camp. It's really focused on strength training for women, but there's conditioning and cardio thrown in there too. I go 4 times a week. I absolutely love it so much. If you have a Burn Boot Camp in your area, I couldn't recommend it enough. But of course, I just want to always caveat and say that if you're in period recovery, if you have not gotten yet consistent ovulatory period and a non-symptomatic period, because that matters too, right? If we have a short luteal phase or spotting before our period, or we have very painful periods, that still points to the need for more hormone balance. So this really comes after all of that is taken care of. In those cases, what I would recommend, especially if you're trying to get pregnant as soon as possible, I would make this time in the day that I work out your time for meditation, a very gentle form of exercise like Pilates or yoga, a gentle walk. Then again, once you're in post-period recovery land, I couldn't advocate enough for heavy weightlifting for all women. It is so important for your metabolic health, your muscle health, especially given that we lose so much muscle each decade as we age. And then especially for my women with history of low estrogen, I worry quite a bit about bone health with my clients. So I also think strength training is just so important for bone health. So for so many many reasons. Couldn't recommend enough heavy weightlifting. Do it again 3 to 4 times a week. For me personally, it's about 4 times. And then I come home, I do a quick cleanup of the house. That just helps me, especially as someone who works from home. I like a tidy home because it's a tidy mind. And then I get dressed and ready. Now, this is something completely personal to me. If you work from home, you may resonate with this, but something that I've found to be true since I have worked from home ever since 2017. So it's almost been a decade of working from home. I used to in the beginning wear pajamas all day and lounge clothes all day, but over time what I learned about myself is that if I get fully dressed and ready like I'm walking into an office, it helps so much with my productivity levels. It also makes me want to record content more, which obviously given the nature of my work, that is pretty important for me. And it just helps me feel very professional. I think feeling professional, now you could feel that way in any circumstance. And I'm just saying for me personally, I find getting fully dressed and ready, like my makeup is done, my hair is done, I have on a full cute outfit because fashion is important to me. It just really helps me to feel professional when I'm in a sales call, when I'm in a client session, when I'm meeting with my practitioners on my team, when I'm on a podcast recording. I just really like how it sets me up and again takes this seriously as a job, because I do think when you work from home, especially when you work for yourself, it's very easy to get in these really bad behaviors or bad habits that don't facilitate taking this seriously as a serious job that it is. So that's completely personal, but again, if you work from home, you may resonate with that. Then from there, the final part, I would say, of my morning routine, which is 3-ish hours, is that I am making green tea. I like to drink that at the very beginning of my workday. I have music on and I am getting to work. And like I said earlier on in this episode, that's something I'm really working on personally, is not delaying work or getting distracted with tasks such as my phone. My phone is probably my number one source of distraction that I'm constantly working on with myself. And I'll talk about this in my nighttime routine, but I have a rule with myself that I can't use my phone before 8 a.m. and I can't use it after 8 p.m. And that really has helped so much with work. Now, a new part of that for me is I'm trying to say, hey, absolutely no social media, focus on marketing and sales until you get your big task of the day done. So that's helping with getting work done. That's why I'm recording these episodes so early in the day right now. So that's my morning routine. So if you're watching this on video, obviously this is a different recording on a different day. I was editing the episode and realized I didn't mention my breakfast, which of course, as someone who's all about nourishing your body properly, I definitely eat breakfast every morning. I just must have completely forgot to mention that when I was initially recording this. So when I'm making my green tea and getting everything ready for work, I'm also eating breakfast. It alternates in what it is, but I definitely get into habits with eating a consistent breakfast most days of the week for like months on end, and then I'll switch to something else. I think we all do that, especially with breakfast, right? So right now for me, that's currently a few chicken sausages, 2 hard-boiled eggs with lots of Redmond sea salt on top. And then I'm loving right now oatmeal. I make it with chia seeds and 2% milk, a little bit of maple syrup. And then I love topping it with frozen blueberries and raspberries. I love the hot and cold combination together. And on the weekends, it's a little bit different just based off of what's going on in our house. Sometimes it's like bacon, eggs, and toast. Oftentimes I'm making shashuka, which I love. It's, eggs in a tomato sauce with like onions and garlic and cumin and coriander. Also eat that with toast. So it looks different, but trust me, there's always breakfast every single day. Now let's get back to this original recording and keep going with next, my nighttime routine. Again, it's intentional, it's me time, it's nervous system regulation, it's fueling my body, taking care of my body. And I find when I do all of these things in all these different ways, it really sets me up for success, for a positive mindset throughout the day, but also feeling really productive. And I've started off the day on the right foot, so to speak. Now, getting to the nighttime routine, I would say it starts around 7:30 p.m. We put Anna, my youngest, she's almost 3, down between 7 and 7:30. It's getting later and later as she gets older, which is to be expected, right? But around 7:30 right now. And then I'm immediately after I put her down, getting in my own PJs and doing my skincare. You've been told you need to gain weight, stop exercising, or do IVF to get pregnant with no period. What if I told you that's not actually true? You're tracking your food, working out, trying everything to be healthy, but your period is still missing. And now, pregnancy, it feels impossible. I know exactly how that feels because I've helped hundreds of women get their period back and get pregnant naturally. Inside my free training, I'm walking you through the exact 5-step method that's helped women like Lex, Lauren, and Stephanie restore their fertility in 90 days or less without extreme weight gain or giving up on movement. You'll learn what's really causing your missing period, why food freedom is essential for fertility, and the customized approach that actually works, even if you've tried everything. If your dream is to see 2 pink lines and hold a baby in your arms, this training, it's your first step. Click the link in the show notes to watch the free training. It's time to restore your period, your fertility, and your hope. Now let's get back to today's episode. My skincare is pretty elaborate. As I get older, I'm 36, soon to be 37 years old. So at this point now, it's washing my face using the double cleansing method. It's using, what is that kind of water that I'm using now? I can't think of the name of it. Not mineral water. I'll have to put the link in the show notes. I can't remember if I'm using a water to help cleanse, a toner. I use a lot of bare-faced skin products these days with like retinol and vitamin C. So trying to get a little bit more intentional with the anti-aging skincare routine. I just also love having that be the start of actually my nighttime routine. I feel like when I've got my full skincare on and I've got my pajamas on, it immediately gets me in this mode of relaxation. And I love that feeling so much. I then go eat a nighttime snack. I eat a nighttime snack every single night of my life. I find it helps so much with regulating my blood sugar overnight. I really do. I will wake up, have a blood sugar dip and wake up if I don't eat a nighttime snack. And right now I'm actually working on a higher protein snack in the evening just to see if that will even help. I'm still waking up a little bit in the middle of the night and I try different tactics to see what I can do to help mitigate that. And I will let you guys know how it goes. But again, I always have a nighttime snack, whether you're in period recovery or post-period recovery. I do think most of us need it. And then sometimes the evening tea like peppermint tea or chamomile tea is thrown in there too. I have mineral mocktails in the morning and in the afternoon, but as you can tell, I also really like tea. Of course, I just drink plain water, but I also really like green tea in the morning. I like peppermint tea, again, chamomile tea in the evenings. As I alluded to earlier, my phone is 100% completely put away around 8 p.m. Now, I'm very strict about this, honestly. So if you text me after 8 p.m., I'm probably not going to answer. But one thing I am working on is from the 7:30 to 8 p.m. time is, did I answer all my texts from my friends, my family? If you are a friend or family, you know how historically horrible I am at answering text. And I am really trying to work on relationships in 2026 and be someone who's just more responsive. I would go weeks without responding to text. It was horrible. So I will do that as part of the nighttime routine. And again, it's an actual intentional thought in my head of, okay, we have plans for this weekend. Have I reached out to that person? What do we need to make? Do I need to talk to my mom or my sister about something? I'm trying to embed that into my nighttime routine so I can be a more responsive and ultimately a better friend, family member, all those things. But again, the phone is completely put away. Red lights are on throughout the whole house. That is primarily in the living room and in the bedrooms. My daughter now knows even. She's all right. Phones are away. Nick still is awful about putting his phone away, but we're working on him. And even my daughter, Maddie, will give him such a hard time about it. It's so funny. At that point, once red lights are on, I'm spending time with Nick and Maddie. My oldest actually goes to bed around the same time I do. In fact, sometimes we just go to bed together around 9-ish. She is getting older, so her bedtime is definitely later than it used to be. So at this point, we're stretching together, we're doing some yoga together, we're spending time together as a family. We're trying to incorporate now in fun games to play, or maybe have Maddie do coloring. Also, she'll do activities usually while I'm reading. Sometimes she reads with me, but just overall this idea of a relaxed time together as a family. And then probably around 30 to 45 minutes before actually going to bed, which is anytime between, I'd say as early as 8:45 or as late as 9:30. I'm obviously a very early to bed person, but that's because I wake up early and I'm also purposely trying to get around 9 hours of sleep a night. But before that, I am actually going upstairs with Maddie. We're getting ready for bed, brushing our teeth, flossing, doing any of those final things that we need to do. And then every single night, honestly, no matter what, I'm reading before bed. I have found nothing helps to improve my sleep better than reading before bed. As I said, in my morning routine, I obviously really enjoy reading. I read personal development in the mornings to start my day off, but I cannot do any type of personal development in the evening. I've tried. I hate it. Like fiction, something that completely shuts my mind off from the day. And even if it's this intense, crazy story, I can still completely, because it's fictional, completely cut off my mind. And I found it to be the best way to end my day. And I love nothing more than that feeling where my eyes are getting heavy and I'm like, oh, it's time for sleep. And then we go to bed. And again, similar to waking up around the same time every morning, I'm also going to bed around the same time every night to support my circadian rhythm. Now, why does all of this matter? Why does this really intentional morning and nighttime routine, why do I want you to copy it to boost your fertility? Is number one, circadian rhythm, as I've mentioned multiple times. Your circadian rhythm is your 24-hour internal clock in your body, and it is dictated by your eating schedule, your sleep schedule, and your light exposure. So you could hear all three within my morning and my nighttime routines. And we want to work in sync with our bodies. We don't want to do anything that's antagonistic against how our bodies are biologically meant to work. So we want to work in sync with this 24-hour internal clock in our bodies to help our bodies. So the way I would think of circadian rhythm is, number one, it's going to help you feel your best and obviously boost fertility as a result of that, because when you feel well and you're healthy, that is fertility care. But number two, most importantly, it's going to help to regulate your nervous system. Again, working in sync with how your body is meant to work. We're supposed to have our highest cortisol in the very beginning of the day, around 30 minutes after waking, and then it's going to slowly wane throughout the rest of the day, being the lowest in the evening. So we want to support our circadian rhythm and our nervous system to lower that cortisol, or to have it appropriately respond. When we do stress profile kits on our clients, we see both really high cortisol and really low cortisol. So again, we need cortisol. It's obviously a hormone that exists in the body for a reason, but we want to have our bodies create the right amount at the right times of the day. Finally, what I would say when it comes to morning and nighttime routines is obviously circadian rhythm, nervous system regulation, keeping cortisol appropriate. If you have period loss or period irregularities or problematic periods from chronic dieting and over-exercising, obviously correcting this by having the right amount of eating and exercise that your body uniquely needs, that matters most. Of course it does, but don't sleep on these other areas of boosting your fertility. It's why I wanted to share this episode with you, because I know you identify as being the healthiest person, but I think you've often thought of being this healthiest person as this version of you that's waking up at 5 a.m. and immediately doing a HIIT exercise, and you're fasting until noon, and you're eating as limited calories as possible, and you're eating high protein but not focusing on carbohydrates and fat. And what I want you to do is just think of restoring your fertility is about truly ultimately becoming truly healthy, that whole body care that I referenced earlier. So you do have to think beyond just eating and exercise, and you also have to think less about go, do, and more about how can you help your body work the way it's meant to, and really give your body times to push and to go, but also we need that rest and recovery to be truly healthy. I want you to think of boosting your fertility as just having truly healthy lifestyle habits that, yes, will help you to get and stay pregnant and get your period back, of course, but these are also things you can stick with for a lifetime that are going to allow you to feel truly your healthiest. At this point, 11 years into having my period back, and I've had these morning and nighttime routines for so long, and obviously they've had a change as I was pregnant and postpartum, and then my kids, every phase with them creates new opportunities for adjusting the schedules or adjusting the routines, but overall it is still very consistent, and I just find that I feel my best when I have me time, or the self-care time, or whatever you want to call it, in the very beginning of the day and the very end of the day. So with that shared, that is the end of this episode. I hope you enjoyed learning more about my personal morning and evening routines so that you can copy them to boost your health and fertility too. If you are interested in learning more about working with our practice, I want to let you know that we have very limited spots left for March for Premier Period Recovery for Fertility. You can apply with the link in our show notes. We're testing out right now an episode a week, as you can tell. So I hope you guys are enjoying it. If you enjoyed this episode or any other episodes you've listened to recently, screenshot it, come share it on Instagram. Tell me what episodes you enjoyed and why. This will really help me know what episodes to continue creating more of. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. We'll be back next week for another episode. Until then, know that a nourished body is a powerful one.